So we now enter this phase of Greek interpoles relations in which Sparta and Thebes will be conducting a Cold War that will turn very, very hot over time. And again, has to do with the fact that Sparta, led by King Agesilaus, is very suspicious of Thebes. It's a rising power, and of course, it had played a crucial role in the Corinthian War, which had forced Agesilaus to leave his expedition on hold in the Persian areas of Ionia and return to Greece to deal with this crisis. So he was very frustrated by that. So things will reach a type of boiling point when a Spartan force on its way north, if you can follow my cursor here, on its way north to deal with a situation which the Spartans had interests here in Olynthus. A Spartan force on the way is traveling through Boeotia, this area here, the area that Thebes dominates. And the Spartan commander is approached by a Theban citizen, an oligarch, somebody who does not like the Theban democracy. And that's something that we should point out here, is that Thebes at this time was a democracy. But of course, in our earlier examination of stasis, we recognized how things could turn out if the one or the other party, either the demos or the aristoi, was out of power. They would enlist the aid of outside parties to help them return to power. And in 382, this is the case. A Spartan force, again, not intent on staying near Thebes or in Boeotia for very long, headed up north for another mission, is approached by this oligarchic Theban. And basically this Theban tells the Spartan commander, I can get you inside, you can take over the city, we'll reestablish an oligarchy, which Sparta preferred by far. You, Spartan commander, will be a hero. And the Spartan commander says, yeah, it sounds like a plan, let's do it. And they do it. And the Spartans and the Theban oligarchs really create a type of repressive regime that is going to be resented by many of the demos, all of the demos of Thebes. So now we have active involvement of the Spartans in Thebes' internal affairs. Now, in 379, so roughly 3 years after this takeover, this hostile takeover by the oligarchs supported by the Spartans, the Theban demos will revolt, will expel the Spartan garrison from Thebes, and will reinstitute the democracy. And this is something that Agesilaus evidently took as a personal affront and decided that he is going to lead a Spartan army into Boeotia. And again, Boeotia is the region I've circled here in red, which is dominated by Thebes. And so Agesilaus wants to handle this situation and reimpose an oligarchy. But the problem is the Spartans were never very good at siege warfare. And the Thebans hunker down, and they don't meet the Spartans in the open field for battle. And so you get sort of a replay of the early phases of the Archidamian War with the Peloponnesian conflict, in which one side's playing defense and the other side's playing offense, and nobody can land a knockout blow. But Agesilaus and the Spartans are able to take control of other poleis in Boeotia, and they impose oligarchies and leave behind garrisons. But by 377, the Thebans have expelled all of those. So this is a situation that is ultimately going to lead to a confrontation between the Spartans and between the Thebans, because it is evident that only one can be the hegemon of Greece. Boeotia wants that position, Sparta has that position. And ultimately, what we'll see is the Thebans emerge triumphant, and they will do so because of the brilliance of a couple of their democratic leaders, Pelopidas and Epaminondas, and their formidable military force, which they've managed to create through the years, which will be fully able of confronting the Spartans in open field and destroying them at one battle with epic historical importance. So we are about to enter into a period of what's called the Theban Hegemony. Now, in order for the Thebans to become hegemons of Greece, they will have to do away with the Spartans. And in 371, as you can tell from my bracket here, in 371 that will take place. And it will take place when the Spartans resolve that they are going to deal decisively with the Thebans. There's been this on and off set of operations throughout the 370s. By 371, the Spartans have determined to end this decisively. But at that point, the Thebans were prepared and very confident. Again, I point to two leaders in particular of Thebes, and that will be Pelopidas and Epaminondas. Pelopidas, kind of a political leader. Epaminondas, as we'll see in a moment here, an absolute military genius. The Thebans had learned something from the Spartans regarding military organization, and over time they had developed, and this goes back a ways, but they had developed a full-time professional army unit that did nothing but train. They were full-time soldiers, just like the Spartan homoioi, and the term used to describe this Theban unit was the sacred band. And scholars believe that it consisted of a total of 300 men, but they were paired together, so there were 150 homosexual couples. And of course, homosexuality in the Greek world was pretty pervasive, at least in an aspect of every young Greek male's life. Certainly the Spartans had institutionalized it as a part of the agoge system, and the Thebans seem to have done the same regarding this particular unit. The logic being that who they will fight harder to make sure that their loved one is not harmed, and the unit cohesion will be the absolute tightest that it can possibly be if you have actual people who love one another fighting alongside one another. So the sacred band will form the nucleus, but the Thebans will supplement this unit of 300 with thousands of other farmers. The Boeotian countryside was filled with these kind of country boys who were known to be very strong, physically strong. They had a reputation, the Thebans did, of being just very strong and just very capable hoplites, even the part-timers. So with this force, the Thebans get word that the Spartans are marching towards their polis. They decide they will meet the Spartans outside of Thebes and at the field of Leuctra. And this Battle of Leuctra, fought in 371, is going to be epically decisive, as I mentioned earlier. And the Theban general Epaminondas knows that he's going to have to get crafty and modify his phalanx if he is going to win this battle. And we've seen previously in previous battles, Marathon comes to mind, at how Greek leaders were, at times capable of altering the phalanx. And what Epaminondas will do is stack his left flank. And again, in this diagram, Thebans are in blue, Spartans are in red. And I should point out that in hoplite warfare, the position of honor was usually the right flank of either army. And Epaminondas knew that the Spartans, led by the junior king Cleombrotus, would have their best soldiers on the right. And therefore, rather than putting his men on his right, where traditionally they should have been, Epaminondas chooses to put his best soldiers, that being the sacred band, on his left. And this was kind of an unconventional move. And even more unconventionally, he stacks his left flank 50 deep. Whereas prior, the traditional formation called for 8 men deep, Epaminondas really wants to secure a knockout blow. And with his weaker center and flanks, he will oblique them away from the Spartans. And oblique is a kind of an angled rearward deployment of forces, so that the Spartans won't be able to contact his weak side before he can land his knockout blow on the left. And that is exactly what he will do. The Spartans on the right, led by King Cleombrotus, even though they've deepened their own flank, 12 deep, are utterly shattered with this onslaught of Thebans, and 400 homoioi out of the 700, including King Cleombrotus, are killed. So Leuctra is a major victory, to say the least, for Thebes. In one blow, basically Spartan power is shattered. I should point out that Sparta, prior to the Battle of Leuctra, had been suffering from something of a demographic crisis. Their birth rate was very low. They had suffered casualties in the Peloponnesian War, of course, and in the conflicts, the Corinthian War, and then these battles with Thebes. And the birth rate was so low that they couldn't make good these losses. And the Spartans, being very conservative and very traditional, were unwilling to bend from the Lycurgan law, which basically said that any infant displaying any flaws would be killed, would be hurled into the deposits, as it was called, that hillside. And so by the time 371 rolls around and the Battle of Leuctra, to lose 400 out of the 700 homoioi that were present on the field of Leuctra was a devastating blow when it comes to manpower. And of course, Epaminondas is not just going to sit on his hands after this victory. He will lead an invasion of the Peloponnese. He will get into Laconia, get into Messenia. He will attack the unwalled polis of Sparta itself. He's beaten back by some ferocious resistance by the remaining Spartans, and the Spartan women come out in force too to defend their polis. And Epaminondas decides it's not worth a prolonged fight. Instead, what he'll do is go around Laconia and go around Messenia and free the Helots, give them their freedom, help them establish fortified cities, and basically the Spartan economy is crippled. And from this point on, by the mid 360s, Sparta is just irretrievably broken. And it's a wonder what the Thebans could have done. But Epaminondas and Pelopidas are both killed. So the shining lights of Theban political and military life are both killed in battles. Epaminondas, pictured here in a painting, is killed at the Battle of Mantinea in 362. And without the guidance of these leaders, Thebes will fade away. An alliance gathers against Thebes. I mean, that's the thing that we're experiencing here, is that once one polis rises to power, to dominance, to hegemony, the other poles are going to rally together to confront it and to beat it down. And you actually have this situation in the 360s where Athens will join with Sparta and other polis to battle against Thebes, and that will ultimately cause Thebes to begin to fade. And so by the time we get into the 350s, the Greek polis are utterly exhausted. They're in disarray, and they are vulnerable. And it's at this point in our story, in the last unit that you and I will cover together, Unit 11, that we will look at the kingdom, the northern kingdom of Macedonia, and its ability to unify under a brilliant monarch, King Philip II, and basically sweep down from the north into Greece and take advantage of the weakness of the various polis, ultimately unifying Greece under Macedonian rule. And Philip will take the first step in creating a Greek-wide empire, and it will be left to his son, Alexander, to expand that empire into the Persian territories of Asia.